Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News for Thursday, January 8. I'm Carrie Simpson. A special welcome to our viewers on YouTube, TVJ International in the Cayman Islands and online at onespotmedia.com. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Jamaica Bar Association backs Chief Justice in push for greater control of judiciary's budget. Major rodent and mosquito control program set for Midday. And Bushy Park residents in Clarendon frustrated over ongoing sewage issue. Later in sports, no clear update on stadium track certification. Now the details. Up first this afternoon, the Jamaica Bar Association has come out in support of Chief Justice Brian Sykes about the poor accommodations at most courts across the island. Addressing a function on Monday, the Chief Justice said he could not think of one court apart from the relatively new Court of Appeal facility that the Justice Minister and Permanent Secretary would readily occupy. He was restating his argument for the judiciary to be given control of its capital budget and, or rather, to better respond to infrastructure concerns. The concerns have grown, especially after damage from Hurricane Melissa. Now, President of the JBA, Tanisha Watkins, says the unsatisfactory state of the court facilities needs to be urgently addressed as it is affecting the retention of staff. Ms. Watkins says there should be a comprehensive assessment of court infrastructure. The St. James Health Services says it will be conducting a $60 million rodent and mosquito control program across Montego Bay. This is to help counter the leptospirosis threat in the second city. The program will also coincide with ongoing restoration work in St. James in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. Here's Antonia Atkinson with the details.
The initiative will entail a $50 million rodent control program and a $10 million mosquito control component. The drive will continue for a year. St. James is one of several parishes facing leptospirosis concerns. Prior to Hurricane Melissa, the parish's health department had an ongoing rat control program that was entering its second phase and was slated to cost $2.75 million. Sharika Lewis is the acting chief public health inspector for St. James.
We will be conducting a phased rodent control operation, and we'll be covering areas of the parish, and this is a parish-wide. So the last few that we had, we were in the commercial areas of the city. We are taking it all over the parish. So we'll be in the main commercial district of the city as well as high-risk communities. Our situation here in St. James is that we have a total index of 67.9. That means that every 67.9 of every 100 homes have containers that are breeding mosquitoes.
And Mistress explained why an integrated approach is needed for both rodent and mosquito control.
We are aware from our scientific knowledge of vectors, mosquitoes and rodents in particular, that they thrive in insanitary conditions, accumulation of debris, poor sanitation practices. That is where you will find them. So when you think about the amount of garbage that is piled up on the road, and especially in our township, the business or the commercial township, where we have a majority of our food handling establishments, that is a huge issue for us and a huge concern for us in public health.
Antonia Atkinson, TVJ News.
To a TVJ News follow-up, residents of Bushy Park in Midday, Clarendon are raising fresh concerns over a sewage problem. They say the problem has been unresolved for more than 10 years. Alia Bryant reports.
Feces Avenue. That's what residents call this road traversed daily by motorists and commuters. The road is lined with human waste, creating unsanitary conditions and posing serious health risks to both drivers and pedestrians. One resident says she's particularly concerned for children who pass the area daily on their way to and from school.
We are fed up of this. It is feces, right? When it is passed from our bodies, it is flush. That means we are not to see it. And we have been seeing it, we have smell it. It is in our bodies because if you smell, oh, this stench is very high. The houses are close by, right? And it is unbearable.
They're directing blame to poor planning and increased development across the community and say it has strained the sewer system.
This sewer did not bill for the volume of resident here because I understand that there should be another sewer system for the new phase 3, right? And no other sewer system was constructed. So what happened? Every resident now trapped to this one small sewer system. So that's why we have an overload.
Now, despite repeated reports to the relevant authorities, residents say the situation continues.
The Clarendon Health Department, they have been here with us in our community meetings trying to resolve the issues, but when they're going to their relative departments, there's not been good feedback. There's been a car accident here. People trying to avoid going into this. People actually had an accident because of it. This is not even the true size of it because as you can see, some car went through it and brought some of that home with them. Okay? We have animals. This is a vector site. You have flies, rats, dogs coming here for feasts. It's all you can eat buffet for them.
This is the second time in recent months residents have gone public with their concerns about the situation. In September, just before the election, residents complained about the situation and the authorities deployed a team to clear the blocked sewer lines. They also blamed some residents for the ongoing issue, explaining persons were discarding solid waste into the mains, which caused the clogging. Aaliyah Bryant, TVJ News.
6 people were hospitalized following 2 separate motor vehicle crashes along the Rio Nuevo Main Road in St. Mary yesterday. The first crash occurred sometime after 5 o'clock in the morning and involved a Honda motor car. In that incident, the driver reportedly lost control of the vehicle, which crashed into a gully. The second crash occurred after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, involving a Toyota Aqua and a Mark X. Reports are that the driver of the Mark X lost control of the vehicle and slammed into the Toyota Aqua. Both vehicles ended up in a ditch by the roadside. Now, the police were quick on both scenes to prevent a buildup of traffic. They are again appealing to motorists to drive with care. The Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, KSAMC, has announced a time-limited discount on outstanding signage fees. This is under its signage compliance and regularization campaign. The announcement was made by Mayor of Kingston, Andrew Swaby. The discount, which will run from January to March 2026, is intended to assist businesses impacted by Hurricane Melissa while strengthening compliance across the municipality. Mayor Swaby said the initiative gives operators a one-time opportunity to clear long outstanding signage arrears at reduced rates and bring their signs into compliance once approval conditions are met. He cautioned that after March 31, full fees will apply and enforcement action will resume. 140 cases are down for trial in the Hillary session in the St. Anne Circuit Court. The session opened yesterday. Now 41 of the cases are for murder. Noticeably at the top of the trial list are cases of possession of identity information and other scamming-related matters. Linton Gordon is lead attorney at law representing the defense bar. He says more scamming cases are coming before the court.
It is most unfortunate, but I believe that a dent is being made in it by the investigators, the police officers, and other entities. But there seems to be a constant, attractive approach that these persons are taking. And it might be that we are not succeeding in getting rid of it or in bringing scientific approaches that would cause it to be brought to a control or to elimination.
Mr. Gordon says the court has been facing a challenge with such cases as more persons are being charged. However, the conviction rate remains low.
It is not easy to prove these cases, and invariably, the victims who might be required to come and give evidence, depending on the nature of the evidence available against the accused person. Without that, the case is going to fall apart.
The Marleys, through their charity Get to Youth Foundation, along with their partners, have brought hope to Manning's High School in Westmoreland by donating a high-powered generator and cleaning supplies. Manning's school is one of the institutions in Western Jamaica hard hit by Hurricane Melissa. Kimberly Petty has the details.
School is still in the dark out in Westmoreland, and so they have to be relying on these two generators to power up a section of the institution. On Monday, the start of the school year, they were gifted an additional generator by the Marleys. Principal Steve Garden smiled as the equipment was being removed from this truck. He told us the reason for his excitement.
Behind me you can see that there's a truck, and it's from Jem. And they are here to deliver a generator to us, which is much needed because we're going to have to now engage with the students that are down below the compound on what we call the D block, so that they can have electricity and internet on that side.
The generator was delivered by Marley's partners, Global Empowerment Mission, GEM, who also brought cleaning supplies for the students and staff. Daika Morrison is the executive director.
Global Empowerment Mission is an international organization, and they have been here in Jamaica since Beryl. They came here, they do response, recovery and rebuilding. So they were here for Beryl, they did some initial response, then we did some roof repairs, and then Melissa came along, and here we are again.
Ms. Morrison said the generator is very important to the school at a time like this.
We're here today to provide some assistance to the school. First, we're delivering a generator on behalf of our partners, Get to Use Foundation, which is the foundation of Stephen, Damien, and Julian Marley. This is a generator that they wanted for the school to have. We also have some other items from GEM. We have some cleaning and hygiene items for the students, the staff, and the school itself.
Now, Mr. Gordon told TVJ News that they have been relying on past students to fuel the generators they have. And while this is a temporary solution, the principal said,
We're hoping that we don't have to use it for too long because JPS is also in dialogue with us, and we're hoping that they can restore what we can restore on the property at this time.
Kimberly Petty for TVJ News.
To a TVJ News update, a day after a new center highlighted the plight of 77-year-old Stafford Banton, who had been without electricity since the passage of Hurricane Melissa. There is now relief and gratitude for the senior citizen. Electricity was restored to his home and to all the houses in his district on Monday afternoon. Mr. Banton, who is ill, explained that his medication and food for his special diet are a priority and must be refrigerated. Now, this wasn't possible without electricity.
Thanks to JPS and a whole. Believe you me, I feel so good. That's when I get the current yesterday evening, that every light run till this morning. You know, I couldn't believe, say, we get back at thing with electricity. 3 months away.
And on that light note, we take a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Time for the Business Minute.
President of the Union of Clerical Administrative and Supervisory Employees UK's Vincent Morrison, which represents some of the workers in the bauxite and alumina industry, is calling on the government to state when the Alapart Alumina Refinery will be reopened. The facility, which is owned by Chinese company Jiquan Iron and Steel Company, JISCO, has been shuttered for years. Mr. Morrison's call comes against the background of the current upsurge in the price of aluminum to close to US $3,000 per ton, and projections that it could go to as high as $4,500 per ton by the year 2030. He said the reopening of the plant would help to boost economic activities and job creation in St. Elizabeth and the adjoining parishes, which were devastated by Hurricane Melissa. Further afield, President Donald Trump signed a memorandum on Wednesday that withdraws the U.S. from 66 international organizations. A White House social media post said the groups no longer serve American interests. They include 31 United Nations organizations and 35 entities that are not related to the UN. One of them, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. That's the bedrock treaty that underpins international cooperation on climate change. The U.S. joined the treaty and Congress ratified in 1992 when George H.W. Bush was president. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Kimberly Petty.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines government has approved the return of public officers deemed to have abandoned their posts under the 2021 vaccine mandate and has asked them to resume duties by January 30, 2026. Discussions are ongoing regarding benefits and payments while the matter remains before the Privy Council following mixed court rulings. On the international scene, U.S. European Command says the U.S. has seized an oil tanker purportedly under Russia's protection. The Marinera is linked to Venezuela. Officials say the U.S. Coast Guard tried to capture it near that country, but it fled across the Atlantic. The crew claims the tanker is under Russian protection and Moscow put it on its register of ships during the pursuit. Russia also is using diplomatic channels to try to intervene. Its involvement complicates the legalities of the seizure, but two sources say the Trump administration considers the vessel stateless. In 2024, the U.S. sanctioned the Marinera. It accused the tanker of operating in a shadow fleet transporting illicit oil. The vessel was previously called Bella One. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Christopher Scott.
We now head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports Report.